Welcome to topic 12 overview for our 2020-2021 math long-range plans. So topic 12 is dealing with, pop into grade 5 here, financial literacy. It's our first go at this topic, financial literacy being new to the 2020 curriculum. So grade 5, particularly financial literacy consists of the strand F1, money and finances, demonstrate the knowledge and skills needed to make informed financial decisions. So students in under F1 are going to be focusing on calculating transactions and budgets. And they're going to also be focusing on engaging in critical thinking around financial inequities and ethical purchases. Those are the big issues that have come up when we're discussing all the various things dealing with financial management and consumer awareness. We are going to be digging into that a little bit in this video. So let's just jump into the digital curriculum site. We're going to compare the grades across the junior grades across financial literacy. So the financial literacy strand is broken down into 3 topic areas, really. We've got money concepts. These are things dealing with just simple transactional money, understanding various types of transactions, and also just calculating transactions for grade 4 and 5. Notice in grade 6, we are not doing any real calculation of transactions as the focus of for financial literacy. I'm sure it does carry over in some of the activities, but it is not the focus. So we're also dealing with financial management, dealing with all kinds of issues around spending, saving, budgeting, financial decisions, financial goals, that kind of thing. And we're dealing with consumer and civic awareness. So that topic is kind of around, what makes a good purchase, unit rates, which is something that we've put into topic 11, calculating unit rates in grade 5. And then also dealing with some of, financial institutions, interest rates, borrowing, lending, all these things. So to better get a picture of this, we are going to actually look at the continuum of financial literacy visual that we've created for our just-in-time and for this topic. So there's a lot happening here. It's a new topic, new area of learning and understanding. So I am going to continually kind of reference our just-in-time session because there's going to be a lot of content there that's going to connect to this video. In grade 3, we can see that what's happening is just looking at cash transactions, making change, also dealing with whole dollars and cents. So it's just really the classical working with money concepts in the primary ages. And then you notice that in grade 6 also there isn't financial management or consumer awareness as a topic in grade 6. It is something that starts up in grade 4, these subtopics. I want to identify a couple of icons here in this visual before we get started. First is this caution icon. This identifies an area where there might be some caution that as a teacher you want to be cognizant of in terms of possible inequities that need to be addressed or looked at or discussed with your class. Furthermore, there's this other icon, this little brain, and that's looking at students need to engage in some serious critical thinking to grasp this topic. So those 2 icons have been put in here strategically just as a reminder for us. All right, so I'm going to go back to the content here. So this idea of, as discussed earlier, transactions and cash change grows in grade 4 to just calculating transactions. This is done no tax in grade 4, and then in grade 5 they're doing that with including tax. Grade 4, they're under money, they're discussing methods of payment. You might pay cash. What is debit? What is an e-transfer? And we'll look at some of the supports in the curriculum, digital curriculum content to kind of break that down a little bit and help us see some examples. And in grade 5, they're dealing with methods of transferring money. I might direct deposit something. I might wire it. It might be an e-transfer. So those kinds of things. Grade 6 gets into some of advantages and disadvantages of various payment methods. So we have to think about this in terms of inequity, caution, and some critical thinking is needed, because not everyone has access to all kinds of payment methods. Not everyone has those privileges. So we want to talk about why, who are the people who are included, who are the people who are excluded. This is something, again, I'm going to point towards our just-in-time session to give you some examples of how you might discuss this, how you might approach this with your class. This is also something, these areas in financial literacy is a big bubble in terms of looking at equity and human rights in mathematics. So this is a concept that we'll have to learn together through. Under financial management, finances here for short, we are in grade 4 talking about earning money, how you might spend money, how you might save, what is investing, what is donating, what all those things are in grade 4. Again, inequity, caution, what does it mean to earn money? Does everyone have equal opportunity to earn money? What are the inequities? Who's included? Who's not included? Why? Things that need to be considered. In grade 5, we're looking at budgeting and some credit and debt concepts. Again, critical thinking is required here. When we talk about budgeting, personal budgeting is something we want to avoid because of that issue of inequity bias that is implicit in some of that. So some of the examples that we use in our week at a glance and our just-in-time session are actually going to be something about, the whole class having this much money to spend on materials, or the whole class having this much money that's handed down through the ministry, perhaps to spend on books. So the class has to decide. So those approaches are much more inclusive than approaches that are looking at personal earnings and personal budgets. And then credit and debt, we have to be really careful about that. And we're discussing that with our class because we have to understand that not everyone has access to the same credit. In recent studies, we've seen a lot of inequities in our banking system. So we have to talk about that and help students kind of grasp some of that, or present it in a way that is not inequitable. All right. In grade 6, again, we're going to be talking about financial goals and barriers. This lends itself to some more critical thinking. What are barriers for people, different people? Does everyone have equal opportunity to set financial goals and meet them? There's lots of really deep thinking in these topics. So it's just important to be aware of that. And then under consumer and civic awareness in grade 4, they're going to just look at how do we determine what's a reasonable priced item, right? So maybe it's like, hey, shopping around, comparing prices. And it's going to be very basic in terms of this is more, you get more for this much, you get more for this. It's basic in terms of price comparison. In grade 5, this idea of unit rate calculation comes into place. That's something we've put into topic 11, and you can continue into topic 12. But also we're talking about taxes. And then there's this question that kind of overarches, how do we determine what's an ethically good purchase? So it's important when we talk about best price and best buy, that from now grade 4 was just what's cheapest and what's most economical. Now grade 5, we're getting into the ethically minded purchase. So there's going to be some critical thinking and some research involved there for students. Grade 6, under consumer and civic awareness, dealing with all kinds of stuff. Interest rates. What is an interest rate? You really have to think about that from an equity lens. Who has access to various interest rates for borrowing, for mortgages, or for lending? Like investing. You can be a lender, you can be an investor, or you can be loans borrower. Again, critical thinking is involved, and then fees that are involved with various transactions or various financial services. Lots of content there to deal with. So we are going to pop back over to the LRP site. We're just going to look at some of the examples that are given. The financial literacy strand has a full breadth of examples, key concepts, and sample tasks. Now, this is the ministry's goal for every expectation in the math curriculum, but they've finished it for financial literacy, something they've been working on. So examples will give us an example of what what are sample basic budgets, what are some examples of what needs to be discussed. The key concepts have always been there for across different math expectations, and key concepts are just dealing with what are some things that the teacher needs to be cognizant of to teach this expectation. And then the sample task will give you an example of something you might try with your class. Again, even on the ministry site, you have to kind of look at sample tasks from a critical lens, from an inequity lens, and make sure that it is inclusive of all our community members. All right, so that's an overview of the curriculum expectations. We're going to jump back into our LRP site and take a look at what that has to offer. So that's the expectation cluster there. Over here, we've got Math Up Connections for 4, 5, and 6. One thing we want to note in grade 6, topic 12, Math Up does not have any lessons, but we do have the week at a glance that you can look at. And the week at a glance will give you essentially half of your 2 weeks of financial literacy and has a good deal of content there. A good deal of thinking has gone into designing that content. So please use that. It's fantastic. We've got 5 days of lessons for you there. We want to look at the sample additional problems is there as well, with some correlations and connections to some other concepts that can be covered, along with some OAME content that has been put in there as well. Please, again, keep thinking about things in terms of the lenses of critical thinking and inequity that we are going to be discussing our just-in-time sessions. And we've also got the building fluency section that has some various forms of fluency across the grades. In grade 5, for example, we've got some examples of discussions you might have with your students, quick prompts about tax, percentage calculation, mental math, which is also in the week at a glance for grade 5. Some of these math talks dealing with mental math around calculating tax or calculating percentages. That's a good connection to prior learning expectations. And of course, we've got our models and tools available there for you.